Hello, and welcome back to the Misty Morrison Podcast. I'm your host, Misty Morrison, and this is episode 39. Go scroll. Episode 29 of Petty Please. Here on the Misty Morrison Podcast, we love to judge, we love to give advice, we love all the petty drama. But before we get into our stories for today, our usual housekeeping, whether you are new or returning, please remember to engage with the content. It really does help the channel grow. Rate, review, like, subscribe for more, share it with a friend, comment with your thoughts on the stories down below. Every little bit of engagement, it just takes a moment, and it can really help the channel so much. All right, on to our petty drama for the day. Story number 1 is coming to us from r/malicious compliance. Approved shifts? Okay then. Today is my girlfriend's 17th day in a row working in some capacity or another. Tomorrow we leave for a wedding out of state. She blocked off the entire afternoon in her schedule. Her boss, a notorious micromanager, stalked her calendar and wanted to know if my girlfriend planned on putting in PTO for the time off. My girlfriend responded no, since she worked 6 hours on Sunday and has worked so much overtime in the past 2 weeks in order to meet the deadlines that the boss had placed on her. My girlfriend's boss then had the audacity to remind her that employees needed approval to work outside of their scheduled work hours. My girlfriend plans to stop working any overtime immediately. She's salary. And when her boss wants to know why something is not completed on Monday that she asked for, she can point to the chat where her boss reminded her that employees need approval to work outside of regular business hours, and she was not granted that approval. That blade cuts both ways. It really does. You know, if you are putting so much on one person that they don't have the time within their schedule to get everything you're asking them to do done, you either need to accept that they're going to have overtime and you're going to be paying overtime, or you have to find somebody else to delegate some of that to. You can't just say, no, you can only work your scheduled hours and expect the productivity to continue as it has been. It doesn't work that way. Story number 2 is coming to us from r/petty revenge. My upstairs neighbor kept leaving laundry in the shared washer, so I started decorating it. We have 2 washers and 2 dryers for the whole building. You're supposed to move your stuff when it's done so other people can use it. My upstairs neighbor would leave his clothes sitting in there for hours, sometimes overnight. I asked him twice. He just laughed and said, just take it out if you need to, which is gross. So I started folding his laundry, badly. Inside out shirts, socks rolled into weird knots, jeans folded into triangles. One time I turned all his pillowcases into tubes and stacked them like Pringles. Another time I stuffed everything into one of his laundry baskets so tightly he had to pull them out one at a time. After a few rounds of that, he suddenly started setting timers on his phone. Now he's always down there right when the cycle ends. As it should be. I understand that when someone has put their laundry into a shared washing machine, they clearly put it in for the wash cycle. So if you had to move it, when you're taking it out, it is clean. Yes, because you're moving it from the washer to the dryer. I still don't want to touch someone I don't know's underwear. I don't want to. Just, there is common courtesy when there is a shared laundry situation. Just be courteous and go move your stuff. If you know that you do not have the time in the day to go switch your laundry from the washer to the dryer and then to go pick it up out of the dryer, then that is not the day for you to do laundry. Story number 3 is coming to us from r/petty revenge. The phone company assigned Nintendo game support number as my home number. Many years ago, I moved into a house in Redmond, Washington, home to Microsoft, and soon I discovered Nintendo of America. Both companies had offices a few blocks from my house. A few months before I moved in, Nintendo canceled their local number for game support hotline to an 800 number and gave up on the local number. This means anyone across the US or Canada calling that number would not reach Nintendo. The phone company assigned the old number as my residential phone number. As soon as the phone was plugged in, it started ringing off the hook, with people calling to get support for a game at all hours of the day. I called the phone company and initially they refused to change the number. They told me the company policy was to charge a hefty fee to switch the number, and there's no guarantee it would not be an old business number. I just moved in, so I didn't have the cash. Instead of dealing with the endless calls, I decided to pick up the phone and get my petty revenge. First, I would demand a credit card from any caller. I told them to go into mommy's purse and pull one out. Then I would have them read the number and name off the card. I never wrote the information down. I just wanted to see what would happen if I asked for it. Sometimes the parents would pick up the phone and start screaming at me, so I started screaming back. I would thank them for the new TV, complain that the card was over the limit, and do anything I felt would entertain me. I said some things that were inappropriate 30 years ago, and they're even less appropriate today. I am not proud of it, but I was young, frustrated, and thought if I was annoying enough, they would switch the number. Sure enough, one day I picked up the phone and it was the local phone company telling me, "Good news, we will be updating your number at no cost." I guess more than a few parents called Nintendo demanding I be fired for my behavior on the phone. And that's when they realized I didn't work there. And the mistake of letting the old phone number go. The new number had never been used previously, so no more 2 a.m. calls except from drunk dialing friends. It's kind of like today, if you get like a scam call or like a scammer, it messages you on Facebook or something, and you take the time to play along for a while, you let them think that they've got you hooked, and then you're like, "I know you're a scam." And they get so mad. I really can't understand why a phone company would charge a hefty fee. Like, I can see charging a reassignment fee, sure, when you ask for a new number, but knowing what the problem was that was happening, it should have been an easy, "Oh my goodness, I understand that's super convenient. We'll fix it for you." It could have been so easy, but at least you got some fun out of it. Story number 4 is coming to us from r/petty revenge. Karen at work. So we had a true Karen at work. Her name really was Karen, and she lived up to it. She took it upon herself to police all of the other employees in a cubicle and office setting. Heaven forbid that someone use the printer without using double-sided print or printing something for personal use. She was called the printer Nazi. Now our company also had 2 buildings, corporate office and production office. The production office is where I worked, and sometimes visitors from the corporate office would use a vacant cubicle and vice versa. Our IT department was normally located at the corporate office to keep them close to upper management. One day, we had IT in our offices using a few of our cubicles while they did some system upgrades. Karen had no clue who these people are, so she takes it upon herself to walk behind them to police their actions. One gentleman happened to be checking the weather, which was allowed, by the way, for employees and company safety. We had major storms coming in that day. Karen saw his screen and decided to stop and scold him for the use of the company intranet for pursuits outside of company business. Now here's the kicker. Remember, I said she didn't know who this gentleman was. He was the head of IT. He never told her who he was and just played it cool. He came and told me what took place during our next break, as he and I were close work friends. I told him she was the office Karen and made everyone miserable with her constant tattling and reprimands. So he decided on the ultimate petty revenge. He checked her surfing history. Now Karen has her own office, so she was able to do just about anything without getting caught. She had been online shopping nearly every single day for several hours a day. She even left him that day and went to her office and purchased a blouse like the hypocrite that she was. I later found out that he turned her in for misuse of company intranet, and they physically walked her out a week later. Had she minded her own business, they never would have checked her history. Bye-bye, Karen. That's taking it a little far. Like, yes, she absolutely got what she deserved, but to leave him and walk directly back to your office and go buy something on the company internet. Like, I feel like most companies make very clear that when they assign technology, whether it be a phone, an iPad, a computer, that that is for work use only and that you are subject to monitoring at any point if needed. She was probably warned, and she just really didn't care. Story number 5 is coming to us from r/petty revenge. Sure, you may video me at the gym, but not for free. I do calisthenics and weightlifting, and I often get people asking me to teach them certain moves. I don't really want to, in honesty, because I'm not a physical therapist and I don't want to instruct anybody incorrectly. But I really don't want to deter anyone from exercise, and I understand me saying no would be really uncomfortable and discouraging for any newcomer. 7 out of 10, the men who ask me are actually interested in learning the move. I have great experiences with them. The other 30% have a habit of asking me to do the exercise in front of them to learn and running off or telling me they'll do it next session. I always assume they just got nervous, maybe they don't want to fail in front of me until today the reason slapped me square in my face. A man came to me and asked me to show him how to do a one-handed elbow lever. I was halfway through my hip thrust set and I told him I've got my hip thrust set to do, so I don't know if I have time, and he said he'd wait. So I'm doing my hip thrust set while he's watching me the entire time, uncomfortably close. As in so close, I initially had to tell him to move because he had pulled up a step to sit on so close to my barbell was between his legs, and I was worried about his feet. I finished my set and thought, let me just get this out of the way. He's clearly dying to learn. I asked him if he can do 2 hands, and he said he could. So I get to show him how to do one, and in the peripheral of my eye, I see he's filming. He initially tried to gaslight me by saying I gave him permission. Agreeing to show you and agreeing to let you film me are very different things, buddy. I told him to delete the video, and upon seeing the video, it was zoomed into my ass. A trainer at the gym overheard this and came across and tried to intervene, and I said, no, there's been a misunderstanding, everything is fine, because I decided at that moment that I wanted payment from this skinny videographer. In fact, I want payment from now on from every man who pressures me into teaching them without the intention of actually attempting the move. I want payment in tears, sweat, and dignity. The trainer leaves and I tell him it's his turn. And of course he tries to wiggle out of it like they all do. I'll do it tomorrow. I've had a full workout. I've got to get back. No, get on your knees. I'm going to pressure you exactly how you pressure me to do this one-armed elbow lever, and you're going to do it in front of all these treadmillers who's watched the entire debacle. And they're going to watch you fail. They're going to see how much weaker you are compared to a 5'2" girl. I'm going to stand over you and watch you shake and attempt while you can't even get your feet off the floor with 2 hands. I'm going to pressure you into public failure that you never wanted, make you just as uncomfortable as you made me. Fair is fair, and I love that you actually even thought this up, because I probably wouldn't have. Story number 6 is coming to us from r/petty revenge. Grandma said he'd never use it. So Grandpa proved her wrong. Please allow me to tell you a short story about my grandpa. He wanted a rider mower. Grandma said no. She said there wasn't enough yard to justify it. He would never use it. Grandpa went and bought a rider mower and proceeded to go to the grocery store, the park, the doctor's office, 3 streets over, bowling with the guys, anywhere he could on that rider mower. I'm sure anyone who saw him driving down the road with groceries on the mower deck probably thought he either was getting around a DUI or had the keys taken away for poor driving. But I swear to you, the man never touched a drop of alcohol since he got back from Vietnam, and no one would ever take his keys away because he actually was a responsible driver until the day he died, in his sleep next to Grandma, who passed 6 hours later after calling all their kids. That's impressive. But he had bought the expensive rider mower, and he was dead set on proving to Grandma that he was going to use it. Edit for popular comments. Grandpa did actually mow with the mower, but mostly he mowed the whole neighborhood. Because Grandma was right, their yard was too small for it. Most of the neighbors enjoyed being in on the gag of the guy in his 90s trying to prove his bride, also in her 90s, wrong. I know you can get a DUI on a mower. I meant more that people thought his license had been revoked, so he was driving something that didn't require a license. I had no idea George Jones did this, and I have no idea if Grandpa was a Jones fan, but I'm inclined to say not, because all I ever heard at their house was dulcimer, Mormon Tabernacle Choir, and other worship music. But maybe that was just the music they deemed kid appropriate? I have not seen Straight Story, but it's on my list now. This was Columbia, Missouri in the mid-1990s. It wasn't exactly rural, but definitely not yet a full-on metropolis. I think that's really funny that the story was based in Columbia, Missouri, while I am still here recording in Columbia, Missouri. That's convenient. Story number... It is 11:15. I am so tired. My contacts are dry. I can't keep track of what number I'm on. I need to go to bed. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Story number 7 is coming to us from r/Petty Revenge. Petty Revenge on Dad. This story happened when I was 13. You wish for your dad to never take your phone away? This just might be the trick. My dad loved to take my phone as punishment when I did things he didn't like. It started to get annoying, and while I love my dad, I was hot-tempered. I wanted him to feel like what I felt when he took my phone away, so I stole what he loved the most and hid it from him, which is his cigs. One day, while we were all in the living room chilling, me on my phone, he just took it randomly, asking me to do tasks for him. I got mad because I had already done all my tasks, so I started looting through his jacket, purse, bedroom for all the cigs I could find and then hid them. He actually panicked and was asking everyone where they are, and I said I hid them, but will only give it back if he gives my phone back. From that day on, every time he stole my phone, I stole his cigs, and it led to him permanently stopping from taking my phone away. I'm kind of disappointed. I thought you were going to say it led to him permanently stopping smoking. P.S. This might not work if you have a violent dad that believes in beating you for discipline. Also, I promise I'm not a spoiled brat. My dad just loved making me his personal slave, never letting me breathe. That's a common thing where like a brunt of the negative goes on to one sibling out of a pair or a group. But I mean, you had a good idea. You did. One time my oldest stepson got aggravated with me and he took my phone. He is over 6 feet tall. I just made it to 5'4". So he took my phone and he hid it like on a very tippy top shelf that was up high on the lofted ceiling. And he's like, haha, you can't reach it. And he did it because I took something of his and I hid it down way low, and it hurts him to get down really low. So turnabout's fair play. Fair is fair. But yeah, you take something that they like and you make it inconvenient. Story number 8, and our last story for the day, is coming to us from r/Petty Revenge. Mean HR Ladies Comeuppance. In 1995 to 1997, I worked as an HR manager. It was a good job and a generally kind corporate culture, and my focus in the job was to work for our employees, not try to police them. Once I knew I was leaving, I gave plenty of notice to train my successor. The company brought in a new HR director. I told her about good/fun things we did for employees. For example, we gave everyone a turkey and $100. At Thanksgiving, etc. Another thing was that our managers liked to celebrate Secretary's Day, as it was called then. People enjoyed recognizing their aides' hard work, gave them at least a card with a check in it, flowers, gift cards, took them out to lunch, etc. It was a long hours company and aides gave of themselves for it. Well, this new lady, one of her first acts, banning Secretary's Day for the company-wide. Because in her reasoning, what if one boss forgot? The neglected aide would feel bad and possibly try to bring legal action. I swear to God, I had No say in hiring her, by the way. Other company-wide customs followed on the chopping block. After I left, people told me that the new lady seemed to take an unhealthy pleasure in firing people. In one case, new lady had been building a case against one woman for evidently personal reasons. Fired this woman in front of her kids. Take your kids to work day. With no prior notice, and had them all escorted out to their car. We'd never done that. We'd never done that escorting thing in the past. We didn't even have security guards. So she took the mailroom guys to do it. They were apologizing all the way while the kids were crying. When I was there, if someone needed to be let go, I would give them career counseling, help edit their resume, suggest job openings elsewhere. The contrast was stark. So, when new lady was fired within the first year, the company took their cue from her. No notice, no references, escort to car, all other employees watching and some of them clapping. Not a totally symmetrical comeuppance, but a good start. And word got around. Nobody in town wanted to hire her. Edit, I don't know how she imagined she can enforce against people celebrating their AIDS work, but the intention was just so wrong. That is awful. Like, to say, well, what if one boss forgets? Okay, so you're going to take something great, something that everybody enjoys, away from everybody else because one person might forget. And did you have any evidence in the time before you got there of one person forgetting? No, you just don't like people to be happy. Ugh. All right, that is 8. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. All right, that is 8 stories for this week's episode of Petty Please. Thank you so much for being here and listening to all the pettiness with me. I will see you next time for another episode of the Misty Morrison Podcast. Bye.